Why, I got to bring out this next gentleman whom you know. He's a regular on the Julie Andrews show and will be here at NBC next week to do a show with Flip Wilson. He probably does a wider range of impressions than any guy working today. Would you welcome, please, Rich Little. Rich.
Good evening. This is Walter Cronkite. The news today is an important commodity on television. All the networks are striving to give their news the right edge. They're constantly searching for personalities. Basically, the news is the same, so the broadcasters must find the right team of newscasters with the right appeals that Americans will watch and think their news is better than the other networks. NBC is planning a new David Brinkley newscast for next year. And I understand that they're going to hire some Hollywood stars to make the program more appealing to the masses. So here is a preview of the all-new David Brinkley Report. This is Jack Benny in New York City, you see, and you know. And this is Johnny Carson in Washington. You go ahead tonight, Jack. I think you go first tonight. I went first last night and he almost killed me. He would have, but it meant plane fare back to Washington. Now cut that! Well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Tomorrow night, this show won't run 10 minutes.
Fresh kid. Now here's the news. Jack Benny reporting. Today in New York, Mayor Lindsay handed the city council a new budget for the year. And the amount is said to be in excess of $4.5 billion. $4.5 billion. How can anything be in excess of $4.5 billion? I mean, what does the mayor of New York plan to do with all that money? Buy Chicago? Gosh, that's a great line. Meanwhile in Washington, I'm not through yet. When the mayor turned in his record budget, now listen to this. When the mayor turned in his record budget, the city council president said, look, what do you plan to do with all that money? Buy Chicago? See, I told you that was a great line. Can I go ahead now, Jack? The big story here in Washington is that Henry Kissinger, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Henry Kissinger got so confused with his hectic schedule last week that he had a peace talk with Jill St. John and went dining and dancing with Lee Docteau. May you share a bowl of poi with an unclean holy man.
That's worse than bicycle.
Well, folks, that's it. That's it for tonight, folks. We hope you've enjoyed the news. And here's a newcomer now who is going to give you the weather.
This is George Burns with the singing weather forecast. It's gonna be a gloomy day tomorrow. A gathering of rain clouds everywhere. There'll be noted individuals of prominent distinctiveness to permeate the social atmosphere. Everyone as anyone will be there to honor a lovely fiancé. There'll be a grand ovation of special ostentation when the preacher gives lovely bride away. Oh, boom, it's over. You got yourself another million selling, and if you want another forecast, you'll have to wait till tomorrow night, George.
That's very good. Very good, Rich.
Listen.
Do I really laugh that way?
I want to
Come on.
thank both you guys for being so successful in the business. I've had a very good year. And I rely on the popularity of you two guys.
You do everybody tremendously. You really do.
But you, Johnny, this is the voice I've worked on for the past 2 years more than any.
I'm not easy to do, really.
And you were not easy to do.
Do I really laugh that way?
The secret, I shouldn't really say this, but the secret of doing a good Johnny Carson is to make sure that your jokes aren't too good. No. It's the comeback. It's those little zingers.
Little savers.
Wait a minute, may I say something?
Sure.
You know, the greatest imitation that he does, and very few people know about it, he does an imitation, and this is merely a voice. It can't be anything else.
I know which one you're
Vice
talking about.
President Agnew.
Agnew is not easy either.
Is not easy, and this is just sensational because Agnew merely speaks. He has no idiosyncrasies at all. I wish you could do a few lines. Can you do?
I want Rich to do something, which is interesting. Yeah, very well. Sometimes when they're watching the fellow do it, they don't realize how good you are because they're trying to visualize Agnew, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you close your eyes for a second,
If you close your eyes, you'll hear Agnew.
Incredible.
Yeah, because it's really not that powerful an impression. Because I don't think people really know what Agnew sounds like until you start talking.
All right, now go ahead and do the
Just
vice
do a
president.
little
And
bit.
listen.
Just do a little bit.
Now listen.
Because I love it.
My name is Spiro T. Agnew, Vice President of the United States. Let me give you a little background on myself and clarify the discrepancies promulgated by those who close their eyes to the pernicious influence of the spirit of national masochism encouraged by an effete corps of impudent snobs.
That's very good. That is good. I turned away. You were doing that on some show one night, Rich, and I was like in the other room, and I didn't see you. And I said, good Lord, they got the vice president on a show. And I ran into the room and saw you doing it. And that's why I said, if you close your eyes a second, because you say it's not a big impression because he doesn't have the physical gestures, and so you have to rely particularly on the voice.
I worked on him for a long time. You know the secret I found? I was doing Jimmy Stewart one day in my car, and I suddenly went into Spiro Agnew. Now, you would think, what's the similarity?
But you see, the thing with Jimmy Stewart is that the voice is so, it's kind of slow and it's draggy, and all I did was kind of slow it down
And just raise it a bit, and I'd right into the...
Well, the hour and a half is all over. Did you know that?
I thought it was about 40 minutes.
That's because the show was good tonight. And it was great to have you all on the show tonight. Thank you. Jack's special is on...
I just don't think I did enough.
Well, for those of you who wish to see more, Cute, tomorrow night, Thursday, on NBC is your special. And they can tune in and see all those
Thank
people.
you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Good night. Bye. I got to bring out this next gentleman whom you know. He's a regular on the Julie Andrews show and will be here at NBC next week to do a show with Flip Wilson. He probably does a wider range of impressions than any guy working today. Would you welcome, please, Rich Little. Rich.
Good evening. This is Walter Cronkite. The news today is an important commodity on television. All the networks are striving to give their news the right edge. They're constantly searching for personalities. Basically, the news is the same, so the broadcasters must
hire some Hollywood stars to make the program more appealing to the masses. So here is a preview of the all-new David Brinkley Report.
This is Jack Benny in New York City. You see, and you know.
find the right team of newscasters with the right appeals that Americans will watch and think their news is better than the other networks.
NBC is planning a new David Brinkley newscast for next year. And I understand that they're going to